irritates me more than a man. The end.
Whoever fought for women to get jobs. Why? Why did we do that? I am so tired. I want to just put my feet up. Like, oh my god.
Notice she said we. Why did we fight for the right to work? So nothing irritates you more than feminism. Modern feminism. Because it's not men that did that to us.
After years of pushing men away with slogans, scolding, and endless lectures, some feminists are finally admitting they might have gone a little too far.
Okay, another hot take, listen up. Why have a lot of men today given up? 1, feminism distorted polarity. Modern feminism encouraged women to act more masculine instead of honoring their true femininity. It's created confusion and competition instead of complementing one another. 2, social media crushed everybody's confidence. Constant comparison to unrealistic wealth, bodies, lifestyle. This made average men feel invisible and defeated. 3, we've got a loss of masculine purpose. Traditional masculine roles were demonized, but no healthy new models replaced them. Men were told to just be less, but not better. 4, we've got an addiction to escapism. Instead of building resilience, many checked out into gaming, porn, really just endless distractions to avoid the difficulties of personal growth. 5, we've lost brotherhood and mentorship. Men used to grow through challenge and community. Now most are isolated with no guidance, no standards, no accountability. And finally, no accountability mindset. It's easier to blame feminism, women, or society than to do the hard internal work to actually reclaim your power. Strong men and soft women both lost in this mess. We need to get both back.
The problem is, this realization showed up long after men quietly stepped back and stopped engaging. Timing really is everything.
Just a reminder that being an outspoken feminist is not going to make men not want to be with you. It's going to make men that you don't want to be with not want to be with you. You will only lose the interest of men that you do not want to be with anyway. If you are a feminist and if you are aware of your own oppression in any way, being with a man that does not want you to speak about it will only be to your detriment. And they are, to put it simply, time wasters. There's literally no need to minimize your views or minimize your intelligence or minimize your opinions to try and appease a man who has no interest in listening to those opinions, listening to that intelligence. That man sees you as less human. If they don't believe that you are valid in speaking about your feminism, then they don't believe that you are valid. Full stop. That is a waste of time. Because either they acknowledge that it's happening but want you to be quiet, or they don't believe you. And if they don't believe you, they don't respect you because they think that you're lying. They think that you're hysterical, as they would say. So this lie that men try to tell you, or patriarchy tries to tell you, that if you keep being outspoken, if you speak about politics, if you speak about your own oppression, then no one will want to be with you. It's sort of like, well, the options are either I'll find someone that I actually want to be with, because there are men that want to be with outspoken feminists, for example, my beautiful angelic boyfriend, or you'll end up alone. And it's better to be alone and to focus on yourself and finding meaning in your own life than to be with a man who doesn't see that meaning in your life, who doesn't appreciate you or what you go through or how things are different between you two. You don't have to date a man that comes fully formed. There are very few men who understand to even an above competent level how patriarchy oppresses us. But what you do need is a man that isn't going to be scared of you speaking about it, that isn't going to feel threatened or get defensive when you speak about it. You deserve to feel validated in your entire life, but particularly in the way that you express yourself and your intellect and your understanding of the world. And a man is not someone who has any right to tell a woman that they actually aren't being oppressed. And the narrative itself that women are only worth anything if they are picked by a man is just reinforcing patriarchy. Do not do it to yourself. Do not become a pick-me at the expense of your own freedom and peace. Just a reminder, you'll either end up with someone who does deserve you, or you'll avoid the worst fate of being with someone who doesn't.
For a long time, men were told they were unnecessary, problematic, or lucky to even be tolerated. Effort was expected, gratitude was optional, and disagreement was treated like a moral failure. Men listened carefully and adjusted their participation accordingly. Apparently, boundaries were not part of the curriculum.
This is going to be controversial, but if he wanted to, he would. Isn't the feminist mantra that it claims to be? Sure, it's feminist passing. It's encouraging women to leave relationships with inadequate men because men are hunters or whatever. And so when they want something, they go for it. And so if they're not doing that with you, it means that they don't want you. Well, that might be true for some men. It's not true for most men. Half of men are not securely attached, just like women, which means that intimacy might be something that they want, but not something that they have the capacity or the natural ability to practice. Men, just like women, are complex creatures. And assuming that they operate based on a totally different human paradigm, based on the fact that they like hunted saber-toothed tigers 12,000 years ago is absurd. It's absurd. But it doesn't just reduce men, it disempowers women and actually makes women responsible for bad male behavior. It takes all of the reasons that, you know, a man might be acting the way that he is acting and putting it entirely on the woman as the reason that he's doing. It actually reinforces the very codependent tendency that it's trying to, you know, make up for or repair by making the woman completely internalize and personalize male behavior. If he wanted to, he would, implies that if a woman was different, her treatment would be different. It implies that a woman is responsible for the way that a man treats her, and that somehow the way that he treats her, his actions are reflective of her value. When we know that the way that a man treats a woman is always a reflection of how he treats himself. That was the entire thesis of my book, For the Love of Men, right? I was so sick of hearing feminists and women saying, you know, men hate women, when men don't hate women. Their sexism reveals a deep hatred of themselves. Bad communication is assuming that you already know. It's assigning intentions to someone's behavior, which is exactly what this expression does. I get why we have expressions like that. It gives us a sense of control, right? In a situation where you might be confused about someone's behavior, to just say, well, I know his intention. I know why he's, you know, all of the reasons that explain his behavior. And so it gives us a sense of control. It gives us a sense of being able to predict that something's going to end, and why it's going to end. We're trying to predict something that's completely unpredictable, which is dating and relationships. So get off your phone, go on some dates. Don't take shit personally. If you wanted to, you would.
Now the tone has softened. Suddenly it's about healthy masculinity, partnership, and rebuilding trust. Funny how collaboration becomes attractive right after leverage disappears. Rebranding doesn't undo the reviews.
We don't need men. That's the general feel of what the feminine collective or the collective of women have been saying and telling men for ages now. We don't need men. And what's happened is, I guess we can see the aftermath at the moment on how society is functioning between men and women. We can see what's happened because of this. But what is also happening is that men, many men, and this comes from working with men and talking with men, now have this deep underlying belief that they are not needed, that they are not important, or not as important as women. And when you, whether you're man or woman, have a belief that you are not wanted or needed or not, not valuable, if you like, you will then attract these situations into your life, including relationships, family situations, the workplace. You will attract all these situations into your life that will just reinforce what you believe about yourself. So now it's about men believing in themselves again, knowing that they are good enough, deeply, deeply good enough, and realizing that they are needed. And many men, I think, have always known that, but just have this sort of niggly sort of feeling from the women in their lives, always saying, we don't need you, we're independent, we don't need you. Things are shifting, but men have to tend to, the inner stuff as well.
so that they can heal, if you like, from the hurt that's been caused from this collective movement from women for so many years now.
What's causing the most frustration isn't that men left, it's that they left calmly. No protests, no outrage, no begging to be understood. Just quiet disengagement and a noticeable lack of interest in coming back. Silence is very inconvenient.
Every man that I've gone on dates with that has been a masculine energy man, he's secure, he's confident, he's financially successful, they never ask me about my work, my job, my career. They don't ask me at all. They don't care. They don't care if I'm CEO or if I'm working minimum wage. They do not care. They maybe around date 3 will maybe be like, what do you do? And it's more like just kind of curious as far as like getting to know me. And it's usually like, do you like what you do? Do you like your job? Do you like what you do every day? But they're not asking very specific questions. It's more like, what time are you done with work so I can take you out? Those are the kinds of questions those men ask me. But then the insecure men who are not in their masculine energy, they bombard me with questions about my job. They want to ask me so many questions. At one point, I was like, should I just tell you what my salary is? Jeez!
Men aren't angry, bitter, or plotting revenge. They're focused on peace, routine, and lives that don't require constant justification. That calm is now being misread as apathy, which somehow feels worse to criticize. You can't argue with contentment.
Fellas, never date activists, feminists, or Me Too movement women. Friend zone them, be their friends, and never spend your energy trying to argue or convince them to change. I'm not here to convince anybody what movement or what things should happen with the world, at least not right now. But when it comes to choosing a long-term partner, you want to choose someone who has more traditional conservative values. You don't want a headache. You don't want a woman that's asking you a million questions a day or bossing you around like they're the man. You want someone that is feminine, that lets you lead, and has more conservative traditional values. Dating a feminist or activist will ruin your life. And also avoid any woman who has slept with more than 5 men, because that imprints into their brain and it causes a higher chance of divorce and cheating. When you meet traditional, incredible women, usually are first generation Americans or just have really strong family values, it's like your life has been changed forever. You're like, wait, there's actually women that think like.
So for women who claim that they want to decentralize men, that's all you guys post about. Whether it's good or bad stories, that's all you guys talk about. And hey, this isn't just on social media, this is in real life too. I honestly truly feel like women's biggest hobby is men. It's talking about men. And that's why they're so jealous that men actually have hobbies. All of these women are claiming that they're so happy being single, right? They're sure posting a lot. They're sure posting how happy they are on social media. And I find that usually when people have to tell you something, it's not usually the reality. It's almost like they're trying to convince themselves just as much as they're trying to convince you. If you want to decentralize men, leave them alone. Stop talking about them.
So yes, some feminists now want men back, but the enthusiasm isn't mutual. Men didn't disappear. They simply stopped volunteering for environments that made effort feel like a liability. Turns out indifference is the final stage.
And I quote from Mary Anne Franks, "Society would be better off as a whole if more women were willing to engage in justified violence against men." She continued, "To that end, women's justified violence against men should be encouraged, protected, and publicized." So this is proof that feminism since the beginning hasn't even been about rights, it's always been about revenge. When you openly call for the justification of public violence against half of the population, that's really not about equality, so don't let feminists tell you it's about equality. It never has been.
Men didn't vanish, they just stopped caring. And that's what's shaking the system. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for next video.